Hello and welcome to the Inside Stylist podcast, where we talk all about interiors with interviews with interior stylists, writers and the big names in interiors, from brands and PRs to artists and designers. I also catch up with industry experts in the know and get them to share all their knowledge and advice. There's so much to talk about. I'm your host, Emma Morton-Turner, an interior stylist and a writer with a ton of experience. I set up InsideStylist.com so I could share all that interiors love with you. So don't forget to head on over to the website for not only the show notes from today's episode, but for links to interior stylists, writers and assistants profiles, and a ton of inspiration. But for now, enjoy the show. Today's guest is an award-winning editor who loves magazines and still gets butterflies when one lands on her desk. She loves nothing more than working to create something exciting that readers and customers will want to savour, enjoying the flick, the beautiful imagery and the carefully curated content. She was deputy editor on one of the UK's leading interior magazines before launching a new homes title at the peak of the last recession, taking its sales from 0 to over 100,000. She knows just what it takes to make a magazine stand out from the crowd, and that is why she was the perfect person to launch her own publishing company and brand new magazine during a global pandemic. I'm very excited to be talking to editor of Simply Scandi, Jen Morgan.
Hello, Emma. Hi.
I always call you Jen, and I was like, actually, professionally, you're Jennifer. I should probably say Jennifer Morgan, but I know you as Jen.
Well, I'm only ever Jennifer if I've done something wrong. So.
That's really funny because everyone calls me Emma except my mum. My mum calls me Em. Anyway, we know each other, so I've got to say I'm always doubly excited when I interview someone I know, but I've known you a really long time, so I thought it might be interesting to just talk about how we met. I think you just messaged me and said, did I work at Homes and Ideas? Is that when we met? I did work at Homes and Ideas before Woman and Home, but we met before that.
Oh no, because I can remember.
Well, Jen, it's 20 years ago. We met at The Perfect Home. You must have been doing, because I met you and I met Kate Sleeman. Have you not worked at The Perfect Home?
No, Home magazine. Gosh, anything with a home in the title. Let's get them all confused.
Or maybe it was Home. There about 3 days or something. But yeah, so we met ages ago. And Homes and Ideas was 21 years ago. So it was before that.
Well, I remember you at press shows at Homes and Ideas. And I remember Homes and Ideas because that was a really lovely magazine. And I thought, oh, I'd quite like to work there one day. Oh, but that girl Emma is there. She's really good.
Yeah, apparently I was quite lively and people were going really excited. They're like, hi, what can I do for you? And they weren't used to that. It was quite quiet in the offices. So when I came in, I'm really keen, I'm really eager, what can I do? I didn't realise that everybody wasn't just like that. And apparently people quite liked it. But Homes and Ideas was a really sweet magazine, and it was kind of like a first-time buyer's magazine, and you would buy that and then you would move on to Ideal Home, and you were on Ideal Home.
Yes, yeah, not well, you fast forward to my career, but
tell me from the beginning. How did you get started?
How did I get started? A bit like you. I was always one to kind of put my hand up and do things, but way back I did an English lit degree at Cardiff. And I started putting my hand up at the student newspaper meetings and started writing and started morphing the kind of features I wanted to do. So Cardiff Student Newspaper had a feature on tie-dye your clothes and trawling secondhand charity shops for bits and pieces for your home. So yeah, I started to kind of morph into homes and fashion. Then I did a postgrad in magazine journalism at Cardiff again, which was a really, really good course if you wanted to be a kind of grown-up serious journalist. So I have law and I've got all these things that, are in my pocket that I haven't really used because I've never really been sued by a cushion. So the world of interiors is much safer and much more friendly and nicer than kind of proper journalism, even though it's proper journalism.
But it's just a really friendly environment, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And the first job, I think, again, like you, I started putting my hand up at every opportunity. I was editorial assistant on Home magazine, and it was at the kind of last boom. I say last boom, maybe first boom. So it was 98, and everyone was just kind of really getting into their homes. Changing rooms was all over the telly. It was all really exciting. If it moved, we painted it, we waxed it, we rag rolled it.
Yes.
And I'm guilty of some of those hideous crimes. And yeah, it was very blue and yellow and green and sunflowers. Yeah, it was a good look. But it was a really small team. The magazine was going through a relaunch, and I just started saying, hang on a minute, I think I could do that. Whether I could or not, I'd worry about later. And I got more and more responsibility, and I kind of worked my way up through the ranks. I had the best job title ever. You're going to love this one. I was once practicals coordinator.
Oh,
I know.
Cool.
I think I was too junior to become practicals editor, which was the title I really wanted. So they made me a coordinator, which to this day I still don't really know what I did to deserve it.
There's so many jobs with so many different titles. You just don't know who does what, really. It just kind of creates this whole confusion. But I see you as a coordinator.
Yeah, sometimes. Not really sure about the green, blue and yellow and sunflower scheme.
It was of its moment. It had its moment.
It was.
So, but I'm smiling from ear to ear because I was in exactly that same world, and it was very cool at the time.
Yeah, totally. But I think I've always had this kind of can-do attitude, and that I want to compete with the big boys, whether I'm on that level or not. And I will try my best to get there. So from Home Magazine, I moved on to Inspirations for Your Home. The publishing company bought that. And I think I was Homes editor then, working with Emma Clayton. And we would just go around. I'd drive a white van. We'd pick up our own sofa. We'd make all our own cushions, all our own curtains, accessories. We'd go to a location house literally for one day. We wouldn't paint or decorate when we shoot a cover. And we try to compete with the likes of Ideal Home. And having now been on Ideal Home's side and seen the difference in budget at that time, I mean, when I joined Ideal Home a couple of years later, I think there were almost 30 of us on staff.
Yeah.
You know, and this was from a magazine of 6 people. You know, and we were really trying hard to compete with the big boys. And you know, we'd just go pick up a sofa. You'd see the people in the sofa workshop in Bromley looking at us as if like these 2 girls have just walked out of the store with a sofa. But we did it, and you know, and the Homes magazines boomed at that point in time. So yeah, it was a really great way of starting off with a really small publishing company and just doing everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a really good way to start to learn the ropes, but really thrown in at the deep end and doing all the hard stuff. But once you can do that, you can pretty much do anything. Yeah,
totally. And I do think that the world unfortunately has changed, and it's so hard to get started now. I mean, my first job was advertised in the Guardian on a Monday in the media section. You know, and you were like, oh, that's the job I want. And you know, even I think maybe they started to appear on internal websites, but those junior positions are so hard to come by nowadays that you know, I don't envy anyone starting out, but it is a fabulous place to work. So
it's a very different world now, though. It's a freelancers world now. So the people just trying to get out now, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but the people trying to get into it now find there are more freelancers out there to assist. So they meet more people. So they kind of have this whole freelancer network, whereas we had an editorial network. So it's the same, but just in a different place, sort of thing. But magazines are a very different world to kind of commercial and freelance. It is a very different world, and it was I felt like I was always with a kind of a family when you're in a magazine. And even if you're under one publishing house, like I knew you, we never worked together on the same magazine at the same time, sort of thing, but I knew you because you were just over there on the same floor, and we all knew each other. So I think that's a shame that people don't get to experience that.
Yes, and I do think working on a magazine, knowing its style and its little quirks and all the things that I don't think you necessarily pick up as a freelancer, you know, can make a big difference. You know, if your copy comes through in a certain style, shows you've really looked at the magazine, then you know people are going to like you, they're going to rebook you. So you know, I think there's lots of tricks that you can still pick up from either work experience, if it exists. Currently probably not, and or assisting someone that is ex-magazine staff. Definitely.
Also, I think people don't tend to think about the writing side of things. They tend to think, I want to be a stylist and do styling. Whereas if you can write as well, if you can write a whole feature, that makes you so much more employable.
but like you say, you have to really get into the head of the customer or the reader of a magazine, definitely.
Yes, I think that's where my career has always been so varied, because I've never really classed myself as a stylist,
That's a new
or a
title.
writist. Yeah,
But
maybe
you're
I'm
a
a
styler and
writist.
a writist.
Maybe I'm a
It's a
writist.
magazine title.
That's a new one. Maybe that joins practical coordinator. I've never really pigeonholed myself. I can style and I love it, and I can write and I love it. But I've never been one or the other. And I think that's why I've had such an interesting career, and certainly why the Real Home side, when I joined Ideal Home as interiors editor, then that was really good, because interiors editor, again, going back to job titles, that was a great title to have, because everyone thought that you dealt with like all of the shoots and everything, and I was like, yeah, I deal with the Real Home side, the homes and the makeovers and everything else. So yeah, that again, that was a really good job title to have. So I was on Ideal Home, gosh, when was on Ideal Home? 2014, something like that. And it's all I ever wanted. My whole career seemed to be get into Ideal Home. I would apply for every job going.
Oh.
And there's some lovely cases on LinkedIn at the moment, just on really nice rejection letters that people, because people are looking for work and it's really tough out there. And I'll always remember a rejection letter from Nikki Phillips on Ideal Home that really stuck in my mind. And it was just like, I do save these letters and I do use I do put them in my contacts book, and we will work together one day. And I think when we did work together on Ideal Home, oh gosh, just before I left to join Style at Home, I think she was just about starting again on Ideal Home. So it just goes to show, I think if you're nice to people on the way up, then life is a lot better on the way down.
Yeah, definitely. So from Ideal Home, you went to Style at Home?
Yes, Style at Home, my first baby before my daughter. Yeah, that was really interesting, and I love the way it came about. I was part of a research team. There were two research teams at IPC, as it was called then, that were formed from various people. So we had Dave Dowding from Woman and Home as our art director. So they were pulling different people from different magazines to say, let's look at the Ideal Home. Let's see what we can do to freshen it up. And it was great, because your current job got filled by a lovely freelancer who would look after it. Hopefully not do a better job than you, which was always a slight fear. Then you get locked in a cupboard with maybe a picture editor, an art director, yourself, and you would just brainstorm what you could do with these magazines. And after 2 weeks of quite intense project work, it would go out to a focus group, which was just, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been on one and sat behind
the window.
Behind the window.
Yeah. Listening to people slagging off the features you've just done.
Yeah.
And usually complaining about, there's too many adverts. It's like, well,
I know.
Adverts, there's no magazine.
I know they don't really understand the word. But anyway, focus groups are always fascinating, because they're a real mix of your readers, and they don't mince their words.
No.
But we came away with the concept that I'd come up with was really, really strong, but not right for Ideal Home. And I started thinking, okay, so I was deputy editor on Ideal Home at this point.
Right, so was it originally going to be a spin-off of Ideal Home? It was like a supplement or a second magazine?
I wasn't really sure at this point. So I think the powers that be had ideas. It was more, do we need to make Ideal Home a bit more practical? Do we need to make it a bit more family oriented? Where could we push it to? Really no boundaries. And we came up with this concept, and it was like, well, love it, that's the really inspirational bit. Do it, that's the practical bit. Buy it, that's all the shopping, and then make it, that's the craft bit. And it's a really, really strong concept, but it wasn't right for Ideal Home. So I just thought, okay, I'll just go back to my job. And we made changes to Ideal Home. We made it even better, which is, you're constantly reinventing this fabulous wheel on Ideal Home. We made it even better and bigger, and took on some of the changes from the other teams, some of the ones that I'd had. So Ideal Home was fine. And then I started hearing these rumours about, well, we're looking at doing a budget magazine. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. Because obviously Homes and Ideas have closed many years ago. They still own the title and the name and everything. And it was like, do we bring that back? What do we do? And I was like, okay, because I was quite senior at this point, deputy on Ideal Homes. So we were in all of these brand meetings. I was thinking, this sounds really interesting. And I remember saying to Yvonne Ramsden, our publishing director, who fabulous mentor, and I just sort of said, this sounds really interesting. She went, well, it's your project, it's your concept from Ideal Home. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, right.
And I was like, oh, all right. And they were, okay, so off you go into a cupboard and we'll do a 3-issue test. So Style at Home was born with a very small team. I think there were 6 of us, again, in another cupboard. Actually, it wasn't even a cupboard. We were sandwiched between Loaded and NME. I mean, if you're going to do a project on homes, that's a really good spot, secret project. Because they've got no interest in what you're doing.
They're not even going to look over the divider, are they?
They don't care. But it was highly entertaining, to say the least, being stuck there, especially like the choice of music that came out on a Friday afternoon. Anyway, so Style at Home did a 3-issue trial, did really, really well. The plan was then I'd go back to Ideal Home, we'd wait till the autumn, and the CEO of Time Inc. at the time, Sylvia, was like, what are we doing waiting? And it was literally, right, okay, we've got to get that next issue. We can have a gap of 1 month and we'll start going as monthly from then. So yeah, that was my Style at Home launch. And it did incredibly well.
Those 3 months just became a permanent fixture, and it's still doing really well now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was up in the recent ABCs. It's still doing so well. I'm still so proud of it.
Such a fab magazine.
It helped that there was a recession. Everyone was looking to be a bit more creative.
So I think it was the tone of it was really just so spot on, and that is why people love magazines, isn't it? It's because they feel like you're being talked. If you feel like your best friend is telling you a little secret, or have you seen this bargain over in this shop? And because it was so full of readers, and there was loads of advice and loads of tips and loads of crafts and DIY, and it just felt really bright and really happy and really quite fresh and young, and it still does. It still feels like that. So it really did just hit the market at the right time with the right tone. Definitely. Well done, Jen. Well done.
Thank you. I mean, it is all about the tone. You're absolutely right. And Instagram it was there, but it wasn't doing the things it does now. But from Instagram, you could sort of see this great sharing of advice and this willingness to be nice about our homes to each other and be constructive. And if someone's done it or wants to paint their ceiling whatever color, you could find these people that would say something nice and positive and supportive, or even if it's not my style, but they've been really clever, and it was just such a really nice magazine and environment, and I had a brilliant team working with me. And so I was there, 4 years, I think, and it went from 0 to 100,000 when I went off on maternity leave, which was just really amazing.
So then from Style at Home,
this is a real career whirlwind.
I think it's really interesting because where you are now is worlds away from Home magazine, and it's really interesting for people to hear how you've progressed through your career. But also, I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to this. The thing is, I know you, but I might not remember the timelines. And was you here or was you there? So,
well, I was still very much, a Time Inc. Girl at this point. I went to maternity leave. I was off for a year, had a little girl. Then I came back, and Style at Home was doing well, and I was like, okay, it's doing well with Lizzie. It's great. It's the team all happy, and it's looking lovely. And I was like, what's next? And I then got offered the chance to set up the Craft Network, which was I mean, I just basically love launching magazines. So when someone said, right, we're going to launch a Craft Network group, we're going to put magazines out, we're going to do lots on digital, you're going to get to work with a fabulous kind of knitting team of Women's Weekly and all the crafters that we've got around the business, and try and bring them all into this amazing hub. I was like, that sounds really good. I like the sound of that. And, I've always been a crafter. Homes, craft, they pretty much go side by side. So we set up the Craft Network. We had, a knitting magazine, a sewing magazine, a patchwork magazine, really trying to tap into the craft market.
You had a baking magazine.
We did. We had a cake magazine, yes, Cake International. Mm-hmm. But it was great. Really, really full on. Because again, and this goes back to that sofa being stuffed in the back of the white van, driving around London. I don't put limits on myself. I just look at what I want to achieve and think I'm going to do it. So, we were doing 20, 30 shots a day with models. And it was fast and furious. It was great, but I couldn't keep going at that pace. And I couldn't keep going at that pace against very well-established magazines that have been going for so long. And I mean, my knowledge just grew and grew and grew, in sewing, working with sewing patterns, kind of importing cover mounts from China. There was so much that we were doing that was very exciting and very new to me. But yeah, I just couldn't keep going at that pace. And the opportunity came up to take voluntary redundancy, which I thought, hang on, this could be the next step for me. I'd been there for 12 years at Time Inc. At that point, I was one of the few that were allowed to work from home. So I was doing 2 days a week from home anyway. And I was like, it's still not working quite right for me. Even working 2 days from home, 3 days in London, working at that pace on shoots, it's just not where I want to be at this precise point in time. I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I poached Jo Elston, now Jo Craig, from Style at Home, who's the art director on Style at Home. I'd poached her to the Craft Network anyway. And I just remember we just thought, yeah, let's go. Let's just see what's next. Obviously helped having a little security blanket of a redundancy package. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. But I then thought, okay, I'm now freelance. I had this grand plan. I was going to just work 3 days a week. I might do a bit of courses. I don't know. I quite fancy learning to do some dressmaking properly. I had this grand plan. And literally, I think I had sort of maybe just end of December, January off, where I planned my little one's birthday party. And I thought, yeah, this is good. I can make the cake. I've got all this time to do all these mummy things. And I was like, okay, actually, I think I need to do some work. And it just rolled from there. I just kept being offered project after project. So I did things like the Ideal Home Show Guide. I did This Morning Live show guides. I did Ideal Home Christmas as a freelance project. And I was just like, yeah, this is actually good. And I started getting regular commissions. The homes editor position at Woman and Home went freelance. So I did that for, I think, nearly 2 years. So I now just juggle and spin lots of plates, but I love it. I mean, it's been different being a freelancer in lockdown. Not that much has changed, but it's actually that sort of face-to-face contact. You and I would meet up at a pressure and we'd have a little cheeky lunch or something together. That's been hard. But yeah, I still love freelance. I love coming up with an idea or a new magazine or a new brand or helping an existing brand. And I just love launching the things. I think that's where I am in life. I think I've just decided that. Teamed with writing, and I love chatting to experts who are so brilliant and so generous at sharing their advice. For some of my regular pieces that I do for Ideal Home and Real Homes, I think I've used you. I've used so many fabulous people for quotes and things over the years, which makes my job even better because I still get to talk to lovely people. But yeah, I'm now freelance.
I think what you're just describing there is kind of how I feel when I do the podcast. I feel like I get to know people really, really well. And after a podcast, I feel like people I met, like I did a podcast interview yesterday, I feel like he's my new best friend. And I met him yesterday because you just, the information you get, and mind you, I do more of a sharing a story thing, but it's the same. I love hearing people's stories and I love the tips and advice that they can give. It's quite addictive, I think. Very, very addictive.
I think the same can be said for real home shoots. I love going on a home shoot. I love quizzing the homeowner. I love snooping around their house. I love the sense of how much pride and love that they
Yeah.
put into their house, and they just want to show it off to you. And I love the fact there's always a messy cupboard where they've stashed everything, and you can lift something up and find a.
I haven't got a messy cupboard.
Yeah,
You can see my floor right now.
So your new filing system.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just love that openness and that honesty that people in homes, especially interiors, have.
That's why real home features are so popular, is because that's what people want to see. They want to see how you've put that room, or how people have put those homes together, and get those little bits of inspiration, and find out that actually that really expensive sideboard they want from Heels is way out of their price range, so they're going to upcycle an IKEA number or something. I mean, 25 Beautiful Homes literally came from a supplement, didn't it? It was a supplement looking at people's houses, and it was so popular they turned it into a magazine. It did really, really well. We're all voyeuristic, I think, at heart.
Yeah, I think that was another cupboard project. That's the thing,
Literally. Stick you in a cupboard and you'll come out with a magazine.
See what you come out with.
So before we talk about the elephant in the room, let's just mention you and Joe teamed up, or have teamed up, and you work together quite a lot now on brand zines. Do you want to chat about that?
Yes. So Joe is now living in Dorset with a little boy as well. I just love her. She's just got such great style, and that relationship between an editor and an art director is so important. It's almost like a second marriage, but actually they can read your mind, whereas maybe your husband can't, or partner can't all the time.
Say about that. Photographers, they're our work husbands.
Photographers, definitely. Yeah. And Joe and I, we've worked together now for since when was it? Maybe 2012, 2014, so probably 10 years or so. And she's just got such flair, and we can toss ideas around on Slack or on chat or whatever, and the next thing, I've got the most beautiful thing to look at, and while I can't physically look over her shoulder, she's got it, And on Style at Home, I used to have this little stool that I'd walk around and sit in between people at their desk, because I didn't like working in an office. I much preferred being out of the office down amongst where it was happening. And I used to just sit there and almost like a trapped designer, look over her shoulder. But yeah, she just totally reads my mind. But brandings came about. When I started doing sort of more show guides, and I could see that a lot of brands and the power that a branding can have. And first off, a branding, it's a magazine about a brand. It's editorialized. It's not just full of advertorials and spiel. So it's got a lovely editorial feel, and it's highlighting products and services and the feel of a brand that sometimes you don't get from a website or a blog, or even an Instagram. All the content is there. I love just taking content and packaging it up differently and putting a different bow on it. And, so this material exists for a lot of brands. They're just not using it as well as they could do. So from the show guides and obviously spin-offs of magazines, I was like, hang on, I think I can offer something to some of the big brands. So Joe and I started working on brand scenes. We've just so last summer actually we started working with Nordic House, based down in Cornwall. Lovely brand, beautiful images using gorgeous stylists like Sarah Bird and Sally Denning. And they had a brand scene that's been going for probably 5 years or so, and they brought us in to refresh it and give it a new look. So Joe and I now edit and art direct that every season, and it's just great. It's just lovely looking at beautiful pictures and thinking, how can I tell this story in a different way, or what interiors tips can I pass on, so it's not just sell, and it's just looking at everything together.
They don't feel like sales brochures. They do feel like a magazine. They're very inspirational. The way it's shot is beautiful, and you kind of automatically want to live in the space that you're looking at, and then you want to go and buy those glasses. It's not just about it never feels like a brochure. It's like looking at Instagram and seeing pictures of a styled room that you really like. It's just like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fabulous marketing tool. So as I said, Joe and I do.
More people should do it, Jen.
More people need to do it.
More people.
I love it.
Need to sign up to get you to do theirs. Definitely.
Well, there's lots of conversations on the go. and it's hard because it can exist in print or digital. You know, it can be a flip through on a magazine. I mean, I still love print. I still smell magazines. But then also, you know, seeing it backlit on an iPad or whatever, it looks, the pictures look even more crisp. And yeah, there's pros and cons of both. So yeah, and I also did some planning work for John Lewis's new at home magazine, which was really great. So yeah, I mean, brand scenes are very exciting, and something I hadn't really considered when I left to go freelance. I just thought I'd be writing houses and, you know, writing features, which I still do and still love, but what I do just is now so varied.
No, it's bonkers. I thought I'd be shooting real homes and makeovers. I think I've shot one real home, maybe two in 10 years. I don't think I've shot a single makeover. It's just, it's mad how things come at you. And that when you're freelance, you're so open to new ideas that you can do anything. We're so diverse in what we can do that, yeah, it's exciting. You never know what the next phone call or next email is going to have in it. It's like never a dull moment.
No, and I mean, the technology makes it easy, you know, like Adobe Creative Suite, Joe and I've got it. We've got all these lovely fonts at our disposal. We've got Dropbox, we've got Slack, so we can have a little moan about a cup of tea and a biscuit. Should we have one? Should we not? Let's do it. Yeah. And it's great.
So let's talk about Simply Scandi. So this is, I'm going to say it. I have said it to you privately or, you know, on calls before, but what you have done, I've gone goosebumpy. What you have done is phenomenal. I get teary just thinking about it. I'm so proud of you. It's huge to launch a magazine, to launch your own publishing company, but to do it during an incredibly stressful time, during a global pandemic, it's epic. And the fact that you've launched it, and it is beautiful. I think I said this when I subscribed, obviously.
Thank you.
And it landed on my doorstep. I think I was shooting and I came home and everyone was showing it. And I was like, I want to get home so I can see it. It is like a breath of fresh air. It is, and I'm quite a full on manic sort of person. Don't know if you've noticed that. I find that when I sit and look through it, it's very calming because it's Scandi, so there's lots of breathing space and it's all very natural and it's just beautiful. So I want to know everything from the beginning.
Well, so you were on the inside for lots.
I was on the inside, but I know everyone else.
Coaching calls, yeah.
So,
yeah,
I know why it started, but how did you, like, from the very beginning? You knew you've always wanted to do a magazine, like launch a magazine. How did you literally go, right, this is what I need to do? Did you know from all your past experience?
Yeah, well, so I missed a chunk of freelance life out, actually. So I was editing magazines for Market Force, which is obviously a division of Time Inc. And they were spotting these gaps and saying, Jen, right, okay, can you do one on cakes to coincide with the Bake Off? Or, you know, there would be sort of key moments. And I said, I think Scandi is pretty big. I was like, yeah, Scandi's huge. You know, there's no denying it. Every press show, it gets tarted up with a different bow. Scandi is huge. So I did Scandi at home for them for, coming up to 2 years. It started as a one-off kind of bookazine and ended up going, I think, every 6 weeks in the end. And then COVID came and I cried on the phone to my contact because he was like, Jen, got to pull it. You know, we've got to focus on the big brands. It's doing well, it's making money, but it's just not where our attention needs to be. Because we just didn't know what the pandemic was going to throw up. Were people never going to buy a magazine again? Excuse me. Or, you know, what was going to happen? Subscriptions obviously went up, as we all know. So in hindsight, you know, the markets and certainly interiors has been fine. Or, okay, you know, I mean, obviously some areas have been trickier than others. But and I was like, oh, okay, right, that's really sad. And the last issue went on sale, I think, end of August. Or went off sale, sorry, the end of August.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, I'm getting so many emails and messages because I did the Instagram account for it. Getting so many emails and messages about Scandi, what's happened to it, what's happened to Scandi at home. And I was like, oh, it's really, really sad. And they were like, oh, it's really sad. I miss it. It was the magazine for me. And I was like, And I'd always want, I mean, every editor always wants to edit their own magazine. And I'd had so many lovely projects that had almost got me to that point. Maybe without the financial risk, which is actually a really nice place to be. And I was like, oh, do you know what? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And I was like, but I'm crazy because there's a like global pandemic on, and the only way I can do it is to, make it needs to be like this many pages and this much money. And and it's such a big leap. And coming from a big, or ending up, not even coming from, because obviously I started off quite small publishing companies, but ending at Time Inc., where I had a paper department and a subscription department and a marketing department and a publishing director and an accounts department and all these fabulous support networks you don't really appreciate until you're on your own. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to put my big girl pants on. I'm gonna have to phone a printer. Actually, I got Joe to phone the printer. I'm gonna have to speak to people. And especially from the confinements of my kitchen, because I can't even go and wine and dine them and get the best deal. I don't even know if you do wine and dine these people. I don't know what to do. So yeah, that lasted for a little while. I was just like, okay, right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And I think, oh no, I've missed the Christmas boat, which was really annoying me. I was like, I want to get out for Christmas. I can't do it. They just, because I sort of dillied and dallied for a few weeks. And I was like, okay, it's now September, it's getting into October. If I'm going to print it, I've got to get off to the printers by the end of October, at least, to get it on the newsstand. And I haven't even, trademarked the name. So all these things going through my head. And I had a call with my coach, Nikki, and she said, well, do a digital issue, Jen, as a teaser. I was like, oh, Bill, yeah, okay, get it now.
I just put that together, no problem.
Well, yeah, we did. We just put it together. Yeah. And it was the best marketing tool ever, because Instagram just seemed to go wild for it. We were having people subscribe to a magazine that, between us, didn't even exist at that point. I didn't even know what paper I was printing it on.
I remember you were telling us the numbers for the subscriptions when you were like, I've got 10 subscribers, and we're like, amazing. And then every time we spoke to you, it'd gone up phenomenally. We were just like, this is amazing. It's obviously, you knew the market, you knew there was a need, you just hit the ground running.
But it's so much, so much trust and support on Instagram, and amongst people that I'd worked with, and everyone came out the woodwork to support me. It was just the most amazing feeling. I just felt so lucky, and then I was like, okay, I've actually got to do it now.
Yeah,
I've set the intention.
People subscribe.
But the magazine
bit is
the bit. Yeah, the magazine bit is the bit that Joe and I can just do so naturally and in harmony and beautifully. And I'm really, really proud of it. But in fact, I'm probably more proud of the fact that I have a distribution guy called Steve who gives me regular details and figures, and got me into Barnes and Noble and to Waitrose and all of these other things, which I couldn't have done.
No, I wouldn't know where to, but I wouldn't even know where to start to find Dave. It's like, it's just such an epic, huge task to get it off the ground, let alone, I know what you mean. I could do the writing, I could do the styling, I could do all of that. I wouldn't know about paper. I wouldn't know, I just wouldn't know any of it, because I've never done editing. I've not done that. So it's huge what you've done, and just getting it into shops or getting the subscriptions and everything set up. It's
I mean, I still pinch myself, because things like people were prepared to advertise as well in this, and I felt they were advertising in me and my reputation, that I would deliver this, which obviously I knew I would, but at the same time I was like, oh my God, I'm selling ads, it just blew me away. So it was incredibly crazy from October through till Christmas, when we sent the issue to press. I think when it was mid-January for an on-sale date, the 29th of January. And it's just, I mean, we have nearly sold out in our subscription house. I think we've got like 25 copies left. So get one quick.
Oh my goodness.
Once they're gone, they're gone. It's just, And the next issue goes out at the end of April, 29th of April. So it's quarterly.
Just after this goes live. So you can go and subscribe, people. Go subscribe.
Yeah, you can pre-order your next copy. It's fine.
There you go.
But it's just made me realise what I can do. And I've always been resourceful at creating that content. But it's the bits around it now that I know I can do. And it's made me really excited.
Yeah, I'm sure.
About the industry. Yeah.
It's thinking, I don't know how to do this. Okay, I will go and find out. And you just went and found out. Any question you had, you found the answer. It's like it's a new question to you on how to do the next step, but then you just discover how to do that and move on to the next step sort of thing. It's like the world is your oyster. I don't know if I'd have got to the first step. It all sounds huge and overwhelming and daunting. I just write in style. You can do the editing.
I mean, that's the thing, deep down, I'm still just a girl from the Welsh Valleys. I don't quite know how I got here.
I know you say that. That really isn't the case. You're the only one who sees that side of it. So you mentioned you've got a daughter. How are you? So you're still doing the brand zines, you're still producing the magazine. You've got a lot on your plate. How do you juggle it all?
Well, yeah. So Riley of Riley Publishing is now 6, and she thinks it's great. She's got subscribers to her publishing company.
Oh.
She compares it to some sort of YouTube subscriber with millions. I'm like, yeah, we haven't quite got there yet, but she got so excited when the magazine came in. How do I juggle it? I don't know. I think I've always juggled. I think editors do naturally juggle. And no day is the same. I mean, I'm not lying, it's been tough. Homeschooling has been really, really tough. Especially with a sort of quite a flexible day, I can go from having a call with someone at 9 o'clock one day and 4 o'clock another day. Well, how do I plan her homeschooling right now? And, we got through it. I remember one day she actually cut and stuck and made her own magazine out of the Bowden catalogue, and it's just like, well, put some prices on it, practice your numbers.
But in the making.
I know. I mean, the juggle, I think I thrive on it. I think I fool myself that I want to be this better organised, more logical person, but actually I'm not. And I think I've just got to stop fighting it.
Yeah, it's obviously working for you. So I don't think you need to worry too much about that. We're on Zoom recording this. It all looks nice and tidy behind. As long as on the Zoom call no one can see, it doesn't matter. You can't see my floor.
Yeah.
In my freshly decorated office. Can you share a disaster you've had whilst working on magazines with me that you and how you overcame it?
Oh, it's hard because
have you not had any?
I know that. Well, my fabulous friend Isabel Mackenzie Price would say she'd go on holiday, and as her deputy on Ideal Home, I'd be quaking for like 2 weeks, thinking, what would Isabel do? And you'd have to second guess it. And someone like that, you can't second guess because she has so much more knowledge and experience than you. But and it's almost like ads, and everyone would try to present all these really exciting opportunities in those 2 weeks, and you're like, okay, that's great. There.
Yeah,
because she's not here. And she'd come back, and I'd go in, with my clipboard and brief her on what decisions I'd had to make, and she'd go, and I went, and this happened, and she went, did anyone die? And I went, no, it's your sign then, isn't it? And I'd be like, okay.
You can breathe again for the first time in 2 weeks.
I love that. That's kind of my did anyone die? So in terms of disasters, it's, I don't know. I mean, there's been mistakes that have leaked through the net that still haunt me to this day. Quite famously, however many times you read something and however many times other people read things, they slip through. And once was a cover line, I can't remember the cover line, but I remember the missing word, which was the. And everyone had seen this cover, the publisher, the sub-editor, everyone had seen it, and it still went to press. And I think the worst thing was when I was going for a job interview for Country Homes and Interiors deputy editor. Sarah Bird got the job. I've forgiven her, it's fine. And I'm sitting there in Rhoda Parry's office, and the cover is there on her magazine shelf with the typo, and it's behind her head, and I'm staring at that cover thinking, I'm never going to get this job. I can't even remember the word "the" in a sentence. What? So yeah, I've just always remembered that however many times, even the most eagle-eyed sub, and that's why I quite enjoyed having a red pen as an editor, because I used to circle things, quite old school things, which like a stack, which is where you've got all of the same word. So each row starts with the same letter. Yeah. So you could have apple sitting on the and sitting on app, and I'd be like, oh, a stack, and I get the red pen out. But that been through 3 subs, and they used to know that I used to hate a stack. I've since had to let my stack obsession slide. But yeah, it's I think being open to the fact that you can be so close to perfect, but sometimes you're not. And my mum's favourite saying, which I love because she's been a massive support and is the magazine junkie that got me to this. I grew up surrounded by magazines, and I've been like, oh, I've got like so much to do, I'm never going to fill it. She went, no magazine of yours has ever had a blank page. Okay. And she's like, sometimes you sneak in that cheeky note page with the nice lines on it. I'm like, I've been sprung by my mother. And I physically can't say it or have nothing left to give. I'll just, certainly in the craft magazines, it's quite a good one. You just put in a nice piece of note.
I love a notes page.
Yeah, exactly.
It's beautiful. It's not like it's blank and boring. It's still beautiful.
Exactly.
We won't tell anyone about that. I had an interview at Country Homes and Interiors. Not quite a disaster, but I think I might have told this story before, but I slated one of the shoots. They asked me to review one of the shoots they'd done. And I said, well, I'm really sorry, but I really don't think this sofa really goes in this room. It's just the wrong colour, it's the wrong shape, everything. And Sarah Bird was sitting there. In fact, I think I might have talked about it in the interview with her. Sarah Bird was sitting there and going, well, that was my shoot. And the sofa that we should have had didn't turn up, so we had to just use the one that was at the location. It wasn't right, but it was that or no shoot. And I remember just thinking, ground open up, please, right now. I felt awful. But it's
at least maybe it's a trick question. That's what you've got to think. It's a trick question.
Yeah, trick question.
Maybe I should have just spotted the mistake and gone, oh yeah, you've got the cover with this in the.
Do you know what? It wasn't Country Homes and Interiors. It was Ideal Home. I was on maternity leave, and I'd been asked if I wanted to come in and audition, I was going to say, and interview for one of the jobs. I can't remember. But this was with Bo, who's now 17, so it was a long time ago. Sarah still talks to me too, so it's all good.
It's all good.
6 degrees of Sarah Bird. Right, so I'm very aware of time, so I'm going to ask you 2 more questions. One is, if someone wants to get into magazines, what would your advice be now? I know it's very different now, but you've had a very varied and very interesting career, and quite unusual, I think, your trajectory. So how did you kind of get into writing?
I think that's a tough one, because I think I've been very lucky, and I think our generation, we had so many. I think we had so many more opportunities, but it was much more structured. You knew what you were doing. You knew that if you went in an Ideal Home at this level, you were on this pay grade. It really was that cut and straight, not cut and dry, because that makes it sound. I suppose.
But it was. You knew exactly what was the trajectory.
Yeah, you assisted someone. You then got maybe a deputy level job, section job. You then got a section job. After that, you could probably go freelance. That was kind of, unless you wanted to go into kind of deputy and editor level. Whereas now I think there are actually probably different opportunities open to everyone. Like we've just done a digital issue of Simply Scandi. It's 20 pages. You could almost create that yourself with some of the software that's out there. And I always say, if you haven't got a blog, then how do I know you can write, or how do I know you can style? How can you take pictures? But you could do your own mini magazines. That would be brilliant. Let's just, and you can publish them yourself on great platforms like Issue, and you could even sell them. There's so much more technology to aid wannabe kind of editors, I suppose, nowadays. And you just have to be prepared to quiz people or do it. Put your big pants on and do it. It's as I said, there's so many lovely images. So you could have a beautiful design blog, a beautiful Instagram feed that just really sort of sums you up. It might feel, and this is the thing, I suppose, does work never really feels like work to me. It might feel like you're working for free, but if you love it, it's part of you, and you put your heart and soul into it, and you've got something fabulous that you could show at that next opportunity. Or you could send it around. You could do your whole portfolio like a little mini magazine. That would be brilliant. That would certainly catch my eye. Unfortunately, I don't have any positions to recruit for.
Not yet. You will.
Not yet. in the Riley publishing empire.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So I always end on a what's next, but actually there's a new issue coming out. When's I think you mentioned it's at the end of April.
Yes, the 29th of April, summer issue of Simply Scandi goes on sale.
And people can get it where?
You can get it at Large Smith, Sainsbury's and Waitrose, or online at newsstand.co.uk/simply-scandi. Or on our Instagram, you'll be able to follow those links through. And also smaller independents and anyone overseas. It's stocked in places like Barnes and Noble. I think even Australia and New Zealand have got copies. I think New Zealand increased their order for the next issue before their spring order even arrived, which because obviously it's on a slow boat. So it's just bonkers. So that's next. But I've got big plans for Simply Scandi. I don't quite know. I mean, I think it could be a brilliant brand that exists way beyond just the print magazine or the digital magazine, because obviously we do a digital issue as well. And that's exciting because that will help me increase the revenue and maybe increase the frequency as a result of that. But I'm still juggling. I'm still doing lots of other things.
You're still writing features, you're still doing the brand zines, you're just literally doing, I don't know how there isn't steam coming out of your ears. Let's just share. So if people want to go and check out the website, it's simplyscandi.com, and if they want to find you on Instagram, it's Simply Scandi Mag. So you can go and see what we're talking about now. So go follow, and then you can find all the links to subscribe and check out all the digital issues there. Well, Jen, this has been so much fun. I hope it's as much fun for people listening in, because it feels like a trip down memory lane to me, and I'm hoping that's interesting to people. I think it is. I think your career has just been up to this point has been absolutely inspiring. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what's coming next. Very good.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for asking. I like to talk, but it's hard talking about yourself. I always think journalists talking about themselves is like, whoa. I don't know. I'm used to asking the questions. You've done a brilliant job.
That's why I ask the questions, and I like to talk to you. She's nodding. Everyone, she's nodding.
Yes. No, I do know that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Inside Stylist podcast. You can find all the details from today's episode over in the show notes on insidestylist.com. If you enjoyed the show, I'd love it if you would head on over to iTunes and rate and review it. It's the best way to help other people find the show, and I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, bye for now.